Up next in this edition of The Update.
It's kind of hard to see the F-15 land for the last time. I'm wearing the SPAD patch in painted blue.
We bid farewell to the Eagle after 30 years, which has provided a lot of air superiority.
There comes a time always that we transition and make changes, and so it's time for the 94th.
These pilots with the 94th Fighter Squadron at Langley Air Force Base are about to say goodbye to an old friend. It's a friend that has been part of their squadron for the past 30 years, and it's being replaced by the new kid on the block. That friend is the F-15 Eagle, which became operational in the 94th Fighter Squadron in November of 1976. This date, December 16, 2005, is the squadron's final F-15 sortie. Lieutenant Colonel Barry Johnson is one of 6 94th Fighter Squadron pilots taking part in this historic event. They'll be flying with the new kid on the block, the F22 Raptor. 2 planes from the 27th Fighter Squadron will join the pilots from the 94th as the SPADs fly the Eagle one last time. Soon, the 94th will transition to the Raptor from the Eagle. The squadron is scheduled to get its first F-22 early in 2006. The Eagle was the latest of 34 aircraft flown by the 94th Fighter Squadron, the Hat-in-the-Ring Squadron, during its nearly 90-year existence. Formed in 1917, the squadron flew French Nieuports during the latter stages of World War I. It was the first American fighter squadron to cross enemy lines during the war, and among the first pilots was a young lieutenant named Eddie Rickenbacker, who ultimately accounted for 1/3 of the squadron's kills during World War I. In World War II, the 94th fought in Europe, flying the Lockheed P-38 Lightning, among others. The squadron racked up an impressive 128 kills during the war and boasted 5 aces. It was the squadron that flew escort duty for President Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Churchill as they headed for their historic meeting at Yalta. The latest chapter in the 94th's history involved the F-15 Eagle, which it began flying in November of 1976. One of the first combat-ready pilots in that squadron was Mike Ridenour, now a retired Air Force colonel. He was the keynote speaker at a ceremony that closed the book on the F-15 and celebrated the squadron's transition to the F-22 Raptor.
The Eagle set the chinning bar pretty high. 104 kills with no losses, the best air-to-air record in aviation history. Also has the best safety record of any fighter in USAF history. Over 30 years of air superiority and a lot of deterrence, because how many would-be aggressors were willing to go meet the Eagle knowing that were going up against a much better airplane and much better trained pilots, and somebody who was really motivated to make it happen. I envy you as you convert from the F-15 to the Raptor. That is one of the best things, the best times you'll ever have in your career. A fighter is probably as good as it looks. I always thought the Eagle was the best looking aircraft on the street. As I look at the Raptor, I realize that there's one even better looking. So if looks is in fact true, and my theory is true, the Raptor will be one fine fighter.
The ceremony also paid homage to the history of the 94th and to the men and women who kept those planes in the air.
During those 30 years of the Eagle, the SPADs flew over 160,000 sorties and over 270,000 hours. That's 160,000 times during peace and war that an Eagle with a blue tail took to the sky and came back to its nest. 160,000 times a SPAD pilot put his trust in the hands of the SPAD maintainers, and 160,000 times that trust is well placed. There's a sign in the building as you go out to the flight line. It's the last sign on the door that you see before you walk out. It reads, "All maintenance and servicing guaranteed by SPAD maintainers." Every maintainer that has touched one of these aircraft, the Eagle for the last 30 years and many other aircraft prior to that, gave it that SPAD guarantee. It was given in 1918 to then Lieutenant Eddie Rickenbacker when he climbed into his Newport. It was given today to Lieutenant Colonel Johnson as he climbed in an Eagle for our last flight today. And it will be given with the same pride and professionalism in a few months when Lieutenant Colonel Smith climbs in the first 94th Raptor.
We do honor the F-15C today. It is, no kidding, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world as far as fighters go. It's kind of hard to see the F-15 land for the last time wearing the SPAD patch in painted blue. Next week, that thing's going to be painted red, but always underneath, it's going to be blue, and we'll always remember 4 balls 8.
For Lieutenant Colonel Johnson, it was an even bigger day, as he assumed command of the 1st Operational Support Squadron.
There comes a time, always, that we transition and make changes, and so it's time for the 94th. It's been awesome flying the world's greatest air superiority fighter. We continue to fly in the United States Air Force, but for the 94th, time for a change. So it was a real honor flying that last sortie.
It was fun, man. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
We finally saw you.
It's history, man.
The 94th Fighter Squadron should begin receiving its first Raptors sometime during the second quarter of 2006.